COVID policies are getting ridiculous. Will the U.S. recognize the Taliban and the new COVID-19 variant? That and more on this week's headlines. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Let's start off our week with something fun, shall we? Puppies! Yes, it's another America Uncovered mental health break. Look at those little schnoozle fluffs. Now let's talk about abortion. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said the Justice Department would protect those seeking to obtain or provide abortions in Texas. It comes after Texas implemented a law last week allowing people to sue each other for having abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy. The Justice Department now seeks to protect people involved in Texas abortions using a federal law, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act. Garland also said that federal prosecutors are urgently exploring options to challenge Texas's anti-abortion law. Although, considering it's Texas, the best way to challenge this abortion law is for pregnant women to just claim they were standing their ground against the fetus. That forced Texas to decide what they value more, open carry or carry to term. Of course, the ultimate Texas move would be open carrying to term. California gubernatorial recall candidate Caitlyn Jenner supported Texas's decision to pass this abortion bill.
I am for a women's right to choose. I am also for a state having the ability to make their own laws. And so I support Texas in that decision. That's their decision.
This stance obviously isn't popular in California, where Jenner is running for governor. Jenner is currently polling at less than 3%. But she remains optimistic, with good reason. Because the last time a woman from California ran for a major political office and was consistently destroyed in the polls, she wound up becoming president. Wait, did I say president and not vice president? Yep. Just wait. From a failure being propped up to a failure being torn down, a large statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee was taken down in Richmond, Virginia on Wednesday. And unlike a lot of statues, it wasn't torn down by angry protesters. No, angry protesters just defaced it until it looked like this. And then the government decided to take it down. You know, for moral reasons. On Monday, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam said Virginia's largest monument to the Confederate insurrection will come down this week. This is an important step in showing who we are and what we value as a Commonwealth. What a beautiful sentiment. Governor Ralph Northam seems like a great, racially sensitive guy. Can we put up a picture of him? Oh. At least Northam is the one in blackface, which makes it marginally less disgusting. But to show what the people of Virginia truly value, in place of the torn down Confederate statue, they should erect the truest symbol of racial unity, a golden corral. Because at Golden Corral, foods from every culture unite to show that Americans are all the same on the inside, suffering from massively clogged arteries. Speaking of things people put in their bodies, the drug Ivermectin. An Ohio judge has reversed a court order that forced a local hospital to treat a COVID-19 patient with the anti-parasitic drug Ivermectin. Ivermectin won a Nobel Prize in 2015 for its use in humans, and in some analyses has shown some efficacy in treating COVID-19. Though it is often dismissed as just a horse dewormer, Ivermectin, like many drugs, has multiple uses. For example, one drug that was originally intended for high blood pressure and chest pain was rebranded after everyone realized its other benefit. Ivermectin has been promoted worldwide as a treatment for COVID-19. But in July, a huge study that had been widely used to support ivermectin as a COVID treatment was withdrawn over ethical concerns. Apparently, the paper included plagiarism and what appeared to be falsified data. The FDA has urged people not to take ivermectin for COVID-19, especially not the animal versions of the drug, saying that large doses of the drug can cause side effects. Unlike vaccines, which are safe and effective, Westchester Hospital refused to administer ivermectin to a COVID patient, citing a lack of FDA approval. The patient's wife filed a lawsuit in an attempt to force the hospital to give ivermectin to her husband. On August 23rd, County Judge Gregory Howard compelled Westchester Hospital to give the patient 30 milligrams of ivermectin daily for 3 weeks. But this ruling was overturned on Monday by Judge Michael Oster, who said, "This court is not determining if ivermectin will ever be effective and useful as a treatment for COVID-19. After considering all the evidence presented in this case, there can be no doubt that the medical and scientific communities do not support the use of ivermectin as a treatment for COVID-19. This ruling doesn't claim that ivermectin is or isn't effective. It only allows for health providers to do their jobs the way they see fit. I have to agree with that. Because if you could just sue someone to make them do their job any way you wanted, then America Uncovered would probably be sued until this channel is just me giving movie trailer reactions shirtless while holding kittens. I know this is what the internet wants, but it's not what it needs. And that Matrix reference is fitting since, in this story, you've all been red-pilled. About the blue pill. More after the break. Welcome back. On Thursday, a commercial flight took off from Kabul airport for the first time since the Taliban seized Afghanistan. Around 200 people were on this flight, including some Americans. But according to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, the Taliban has been blocking some Americans from leaving Afghanistan because the U.S. citizens didn't have proper credentials. If the Taliban were smart, they should just announce the Americans weren't able to show proof of vaccination. Then, the Biden administration would go from condemning the Taliban to congratulating them on being so responsible. The Taliban unveiled an interim government on Tuesday. They even have an official spokesman, and he has the whole world scrambling to pronounce his name.
Zabihullah Mujahid. Zabihullah Mujahid.
Zabihullah Mujahid.
Zabihullah Mujahid.
He said the Taliban's new interim government is not final, and the rest of the government posts will be announced at a later date. The positions were all filled with members of the Taliban's old guard, and no non-Taliban figures were appointed. The Taliban has received domestic and international pressure to create an inclusive regime, but has so far ignored these requests. Because they're the Taliban. I don't think the Taliban has ever been self-conscious over what everyone else thinks of them. Except these fashionable members of the Taliban. They terrorize and accessorize. The Taliban warned the U.S. to not interfere with their culture and the way they treat women, like banning women from playing sports. That's one way to solve the trans women in sports debate, I guess. The Biden administration is avoiding reporters' questions about whether or not they would recognize the Taliban as the official government of Afghanistan. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said there's no rush to recognition, and that will be planned dependent on what steps the Taliban takes. The world will be watching whether they allow for American citizens, whether they allow individuals to leave who want to, and how they treat women and girls around the country. Allow Americans to leave, treat women well, and be inclusive? If the Taliban really wants to be recognized, there's an obvious solution here. New Prime Minister of the Taliban, Caitlyn Jenner. The Biden administration promised that ISIS-K will pay for the deaths they caused in their terrorist attacks. However, it's going to be difficult making ISIS-K pay considering there are no U.S. troops in Afghanistan anymore. But there are still drones. Unfortunately, one of these drone strikes killed 10 civilians, including 7 children. Killing civilian children with drones. Turns out the tan suit isn't the only thing Biden lifted from Obama. And the drone policy is yet another thing Biden has in common with Trump. Isn't it nice to know these 3 men have so much in common? And after the break, if you think the Delta COVID variant is scary, fear more. There's a new one. Welcome back. Another week, another coronavirus variant. The Mu COVID-19 variant has been detected in 49 states and 42 countries. According to a statement from LA County Public Health, the Mu variant is found to have key mutations linked to greater transmissibility and the potential to evade antibodies. More studies are needed to determine whether Mu variant is more contagious, more deadly, or more resistant to vaccine and treatments than other COVID-19 strains. It's fitting the Mu COVID variant sounds like a Pokemon because COVID variants are like Pokemon. Eventually, we're going to catch them all. Also fitting is how Mu2, which will probably be the name of the next COVID variant, was a scientific experiment created in a lab. Many theorize this is how COVID started, although others still think it began when someone ate a Zubat. Dr. Anthony Fauci said that while the Mu variant might evade the protection from certain antibodies, he also said it was not an immediate threat. At least that's what he's saying this week. If you're wondering what he'll say next week, you can refer to this helpful Dr. Fauci responds to a new COVID variant chart. But unlike Dr. Fauci, President Biden isn't taking us in circles. He's going straight for the goalposts and then moving those goalposts. His latest announcement? Vaccine mandates that will affect millions of workers. The mandates will apply to federal employees and employees at private companies that contract with the federal government. And it doesn't stop there. Biden also announced that he asked the Department of Labor to issue an emergency rule requiring all employers with 100 or more employees to ensure their workforce is fully vaccinated or require any unvaccinated workers to produce a negative COVID test at least once a week. We'll have a full episode about the new vaccine mandates coming out on Tuesday. But if you think Biden's sweeping mandates are overkill, just you wait. Because a student at Rutgers University in New Jersey said because he has not received a COVID-19 vaccine, he's being barred from taking online classes. The student ignored the campus vaccine mandate because he's taking all of his classes from his home in Sandyston, located 70 miles from the Rutgers campus in New Brunswick. Making sure students are vaccinated to take your online courses is like making sure gamers are wearing bulletproof vests while playing Call of Duty. I guess they are technically safer, but it just seems like a bit much. Schools are also getting serious about students wearing masks. A judge in Florida ruled that schools could enforce mask mandates in spite of Governor Ron DeSantis trying to ban them. But that's nothing compared to what happened in Las Vegas. A Las Vegas mother is calling for the resignation of a substitute teacher who allegedly taped a face mask to her 9-year-old son after he forgot to wear it in class. The mother says she supports mask mandates, but not corporal punishment in schools. Clark County School District released a statement saying they were aware of the incident and they're dealing with the employee through the proper channels. This story is just sad, partly because a child was humiliated and partly because schools have so little funding that that substitute teacher probably had to pay for that tape out of her own salary. And for the record, the only time someone should have something taped to their face to cover their mouth in order to protect their health is at Golden Corral. So what do you think about the stories we covered this week? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, America Uncovered is supported mainly by viewers. Patrons who contribute $5 or more per episode have a chance to get a special shout out from me in an episode, like El Crusader, who's been a supporter for 8 months now. A huge thank you to you for your support. For everyone else, please visit patreon.com/America Uncovered and learn how you can support us continuing to make episodes like this. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.